everyone, and welcome to another video of Eat Well with Allergies. So today we're going to be making some cranberry muffin top cookies. So if you ever like the top part of the muffin and not the dry part in the middle, these are what you're going to want to make just so you don't have to waste that much muffin. So you are going to need some spray oil for the pans, or you can use parchment paper. I'm out of parchment paper, so I have to use a thing that I have to clean later. So you need spray oil or parchment paper for the pans. You need 1.5 cups of flour. Yes, that is more than 1.5 cups. I'm doubling this recipe because my family loves this. So you will need 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, and here's a new addition that I haven't used very often. It's buttermilk. Now, most of you are like, if you have allergies, are like, how do I make buttermilk? Well, for this recipe, mostly any recipe, it depends on, for normal milk, you would add vinegar and it would have a chemical reaction where it would kind of curdle the milk with the vinegar. But with rice milk, it doesn't really do that. So you're just adding vinegar, so the vinegar reacts with, in this instance, baking soda in a later point. So for my viewpoint, kind of, you're gonna need, it says you need 1/3 cup of buttermilk, and I'm doubling the recipe. So I have 2/3 cup milk here, and I added 2 teaspoons for each third. So in my recipe for buttermilk, it says add a tablespoon for each cup of milk. So basically just estimate. It doesn't really, it kind of matters, because if you add too much vinegar, then it'll actually taste like vinegar. But if you add, it doesn't really, I just added 2 teaspoons of vinegar to 2/3 cup of milk, and you can adjust it as need be. You're also going to need a teaspoon of orange or lemon zest. For me, I love citrus zest, so I actually added maybe like 2 tablespoons of grapefruit zest, actually. So I have grapefruit juice here. I actually don't have oranges, so I substituted. Also, I mistaken the grapefruit for an orange. So you're also going to need a teaspoon of vanilla extract and a large egg. Well, actually an egg, or in my instance, about 1/2 tablespoon of my egg replacer and 2 tablespoons of water. You're also going to need a cup of cranberries. You can use dried, frozen, fresh. Just if you're using fresh, you want to chop them up a little, and if they're frozen, you want to thaw them before you add them, because they have all that liquid usually. You're also going to want 1/2 cup of sugar, and you're also going to want an extra 1.5 tablespoons to coat the cranberries with. So I think that's, 2 other ingredients. So these 2 are for the icing later on. So this is 1/2 cup of confection sugar, so powdered sugar actually, and this is, well, it's actually more, but that's just the juice that I got from the grapefruit. So it says you need a tablespoon of orange or lemon juice for the icing. So I'll just make as much icing as I can with that much and that much. So let me start my camera here, and we'll get started. So first you're going to want to cream together softened butter. So if you want to, if you want to put this in the microwave for a little bit, it will soften it. Or if you just want to leave it overnight, if you know a certain day that you're going to be baking. So I'm going to cream together the butter and the sugar, and that's really soft butter. So just going to add the sugar here. all that. And then I'm gonna whisk those together. Stop that for a second, wipe down the sides of the bowl, get all of that sugar that's at the bottom of at least my bowl, and you're going to want to mix that again. So get all that stuff on the side, wipe it on the mixer, and then mix it up real quick. Okay, now you're going to add the combination of buttermilk, orange zest, vanilla, and egg. So this is all that. And I have a lot of zest in here, so I have to wipe down this bowl to get all of that zest in there, all that lovely zest. And orange zest really adds a lovely citrus flavor. It's wonderful. So you're gonna whip that up. And you can see it looks kind of curdled, but that's just what it does when you add liquid to milk, or liquid to butter. Although, in a real instance, milk is butter. So you're gonna wipe down the paddle again, and then you're gonna mix it one more time before you add the flour. Okay, now I'm gonna add the combo of salt, baking soda, flour, baking powder, and I think that's it. So I'm gonna put down the bowl for this and add half of it. Oh, I forgot to mention, it says to sift all of this together before you add it because it's like fine and you don't get like clumps of flour in it. So before I measured everything out, I sifted those together. Okay, so let down the flour from the sides. And then you're gonna mix it again before you add the rest of the flour. Okay, so right now it looks like cake batter, kind of. So now you're gonna add the rest of the flour, and you're gonna mix it together. So now I'm going to put this down so I can get all of the bowl, because they're like liquid bits usually on cake batter or cookie dough, as it were. So I'm going to move this a little bit so I can get everywhere. And then I'm going to wipe this off. I'm going to put this back. And I'm going to wipe it or mix it one more time before I take it off. Okay, so that is our cookie dough. And now, if you wanted to, I guess you could make these into muffins, I guess. They kind of do look like muffins. So now I'm going to wipe down the paddle, so get all of that cookie dough off the paddle. You can't wield this with your hands. It's kind of a dump situation, so you don't want to wield this with your hands alone. So just try and get all the dough that you can off. Kind of mix that around before you add, let's see if I can see if you look closely, you can see all those little bits of orange zest or grapefruit zest as it were. Okay, so now you're gonna mix in the cranberries. So you're just gonna mix those in. Trying to get the best angle here. Okay, so those are mixed in. And now, okay, Okay, now you're gonna need pans. So what I did was I just basically, I had a little extra oil left over. So I basically got a paper towel, a few paper towels actually, and I put some oil on a plate and I let that oil soak up into the paper towel, so then you can just wipe the paper towel down if you don't have spray oil. I don't have spray oil. So you're gonna want to coat your measuring thing. For this case, you're gonna want a 1/4 cup. So if you don't know how much a 1/4 cup is, it's basically 4 tablespoons. So if you want to use a tablespoon and just do 4 of that, you can. It's a little more tedious, but you're gonna want to wipe this down with oil too, because you don't want that dough to stick to it. So I'm gonna move the dough, and then I'm gonna maneuver this in front of the camera so you can see what I'm doing. So I've got a 1/4 cup, and it slides out real easy because it's coated with oil. So now I'm just gonna dump these in, and for my cake pan, you're gonna want to do about 9 because these do spread a little. It just depends on what pan you're using. You don't want to put them too close together because they spread a little. I've actually only made this once, but my family loved them so much that they were like, I would not be opposed to you making these again. And that is my family's way of saying, make these again, please. So here we go. And I'm doubling the recipe because they like these so much. So now I'm going to get some oil on my hands from this paper towel, and then I'm going to maneuver these a little bit into cookie shapes, or a little farther to the pan. Kind of make them into cookie shapes. You can use water for this actually, but it just adds moisture to the dough, so I wouldn't recommend that. But if you don't want to use oil on your hands, you can do that. As you can see that I'm just like patting these down into like cookie shapes. Like this one, I have like little bumps. I'm trying to tuck those in. Hopefully these do not spread into each other. So I'm trying to see how much it says to, it just says 2 inches apart. So about that basically. So I'm gonna push those a little farther out so I can, and then I have another pan coated with oil because I don't want to spend multiple minutes just waiting for this to be done. So with this one, because it has rims, I'm gonna do 6 cookies per pan. So same thing over again, but just with 6 cookies this time. And I don't know if it will, but you might need to reapply cooking spray to your measuring cup. Hopefully these do not spread that much. And I'll do the same thing that I did with the other ones. So they're not that hard, it just takes a little while. So I'm gonna push those a little bit. It might be out of your camera view. So I'm gonna push those apart as much as I can. Get those to the edge, because they will spread a little bit, but they won't spread that much. So that is the first pan of cookies, and I have my double oven. I have an oven that is, I'm gonna stop that. I have a double oven, so I have 2 racks, don't know if you can see down there, but I have 2 racks in that, and it's a convention oven, so I can still cook in that. So it says to cook them for 18 to 20 minutes, so I'm going to bake them for 19 minutes. Usually when it gives me an estimated time, I try and find the middle ground of that and base it on that. So I'm going to put these in the oven. And I'm gonna let them bake for 18 minutes, or 19 minutes. And while that's happening, I'm gonna clean up a little bit, and I might even show you how to make the icing while they're baking. So I'll see you in 19 minutes or so. Bye. Okay, so here's the icing part. So you're gonna, for the icing, if you want just the icing, you're gonna need half a cup of confection sugar or powdered sugar, and you're gonna need a tablespoon of either orange juice or lemon juice, or in my case, grapefruit juice. So I'm gonna add the powdered sugar to my bowl here, and if you're ever messing with powdered sugar, be careful not to get the cloud of impending poof. So I'm gonna start with 2 tablespoons of grapefruit juice. So for the beginning, you're gonna wanna be careful because the powdered sugar is very poofy. It goes everywhere. Let me try and get that. So as you can see, there's a little color to it. If you wanna add food coloring, you can. And there's not much to it. You just add, oh, I wanted to add some orange juice, orange zest. So I'm gonna get a little bit of that, of orange zest that I've already zested. So I zested this a long time ago and I just froze it. So as you can see, that turned a lovely orange just from that orange juice from the zest and the zest. So I can't really taste it right now, but I know it's going to be delicious. All that orange zestiness and all of that. So that's the icing. If I might want it. Hold on, I'm going to add some more powdered sugar because I want it thicker. So it depends on the thickness you want. It's always different. If you want a runny icing, that's fine. But I always like thicker icing because it stays where I put it. So watch out for the impending poof doom, or a poof cloud. So I'm gonna add some more powdered sugar, and it just went everywhere. So I'm just gonna mix that a little bit to make that a little thicker. Let's see, how thick do I want this? I want this a little thicker because I'm going to spread these on the cookies. So it just depends on how thick you want it. And if you eat this by yourself, you will have a sugar overload because powdered sugar is basically blended sugar. Okay, so that's thick enough. It almost sticks to the bowl. That's my favorite kind of icing. It almost sticks to the bowl. So that is the icing. And I'm going to spread these on the cookies via piping bag or just a knife. So it depends. And you can make as much icing as you want and freeze it if you want. So there's that part. And I have about 9 minutes before the cookies are done. So I'm just going to relax and see you in 9 minutes. Okay, so the first batch of cookies is almost done, 30 seconds, and I'll see if they're done. And then I'll put them on some cooling racks and basically wait for them to cool before I put on the icing. If I put on the icing now, the sugar will kind of crystallize and mold to the cookie, and it will basically just melt because it's so hot. So about 15 seconds to these. I think they're done, almost. And then I'll do the next batch of cookies. And it will just be a routine. Oh, those smell good. Oh. Yeah. So try not to bump the cookies because they are malleable still. So try not to bump the cookies because the baking powder and baking soda are still there. So let me see if I can get these off, and we'll see where we go from there. Okay, so I'm just gonna put these and the oiling worked, you can just gently get those off. Whew, I was worried about that. Usually I use parchment paper to get to cover it with, but this time I didn't have parchment paper. So just carefully get those off onto cooling racks to cool so I can use the pans again. And then the other pan, which has these done. Those are done. The ones on the gray pan are a little more bendable than the other ones. They're a little less golden brown. So you have to be careful because it's different for every pan, every batch of cookies is different mostly. So you just have to be careful. So now I'm gonna wipe these down with oil again on the spots that they were. And we need that oven mitt again. I keep taking off the oven mitt when I still need it. So just wipe. There's gonna be a scraping sound because of the cookies, but you're just gonna coat the spots where the cookies were with oil again. And turn that off. And I'm basically just gonna get another batch of cookies in and wait for those to be done. Hopefully this will be the last batch of cookies. Come in. I'm actually going to transfer those cookies over here because I need more cookies than 6. So the butter in there and the dough will make it easy to pick up because the dough is still cold and all that kind of stuff. So put that there. So I'm just going to get that. Just form those into little dough balls, pat those down, make them in shapes, all that kind of stuff. And bake those for another 19 minutes. Take off the hanging first. So, since there's only one batch of cookies, it shouldn't take that long. Another 19 minutes, and then we'll be done. So that batch had 6, that batch had 9, so that's 15 cookies plus another 7. 7 plus 15 is 22, I think. So about 22 cookies, so my family can have about 3 each. So that's my math kind of. So just gonna let that cool, clean up, and I'll see you in about 18 minutes. Okay, so the cookies are done, and they might be a little browner than usual because they are on the plate. So now, I'm gonna get a plate for these ones that are cooled. And we'll get to icing. Just take a few off to make some room for the other ones. And these are pretty big ones, so. Now I'm going to put these on the cooling rack. then, actually, I need my tripod again. Hold on. Thought I was done with it. I needed to show you how to ice. So let's start that. And then let me try and get the view that I want. So now we're gonna put the icing that we made in a Ziploc bag. So I'll put this in the sink. Now, just get a regular old spatula. Sorry about the noise. Just get a regular old spatula, and then you're gonna put it in a Ziploc bag. The icing, that is. Hopefully, you are better at getting it in the bag than I am. So now you're going to, let's see if I get that right. So now you're going to pull this down, all the icing down, into one corner. Wipe off the bag as much as you can. Now try and get all the air out. Do up the Ziploc. Then get a pair of scissors. Just make a little, let's see, make a little hole in it as much as you want it to come out. Then you're going to switch it to your dominant hand and hold the cookie with your other hand. And then you're going to just spread the icing onto the cookie. And you can make any designs you want. I'm just doing kind of a zigzag pattern. So I'm gonna put that over there, if these would move. And then do another cookie. And you can see all those little bits of orange zest in there. And oh, that'll be good. And yes, this will hurt your hand over time. And if you want to just trickle that off with a, you can, all you have to do to stop the icing is press down where you want to. So now, another cookie, or muffin top as it were. And I'll show you what they look like after this. And hopefully they will be good. They were last time. See you then. And there you have it. You have iced cranberry muffin tops. So you can do any design you want. You can do initials, you can do, I guess you can do anything with piped icing. But you don't want to add too much icing or else it'll be all icing, no cookie. Hold on, I have some icing on my hand. So there you have it. You'll want to let them dry because right now it might be, you can smooth them down with your hand a little bit, but you don't want to push or else it will break the layer of hardened icing. So that's cranberry muffin top video. So next week I will be making tea scones. Tea scones is basically a very crumbly biscuit. Hopefully I do not make them very crumbly. They worked out better last time, but that might be because I overworked the dough. I prefer dough that is worked together. Scones is basically the opposite of that. You don't want to work it too much or else it will fall apart. Well, actually, if you work it too much, it will be tough and chewy. There you go. So next week is tea scones, and that's basically it. Please like, subscribe, comment. I love all the comments that you guys are giving me. I had one last week for a gingerbread cake, and well, other than my grandmother, I've been getting a couple from people I actually don't know, like truly don't know. Like some of the people on my Facebook page are like I don't know them, my mother doesn't know them, and most of the people who comment or like are from her friends. So I guess that's good. Exposure, I guess. So I'll see you next week for tea scones. Bye!